fought everybody as a pro, and at 147 pounds, during one of the most deep stages, I guess, in the division's history.
Yeah.
Who was the best you fought?
I fought Keith Thurman in his prime. We were talking about it just the other day, and we were saying, I don't think this guy says, I don't think we saw Keith reach his prime. I said, well, if you really look at it, his prime was me. His prime was Danny Garcia. After that, injuries, after that, loss of focus and different things of that nature, I think right there was his prime. Keith Thurman, his prime's an amazing boxer. Errol Spence Jr., can't deny anything about that kid. I really do think I got him at the perfect time. I think he hadn't gone through just enough in the sport to learn enough about himself in order to kind of, nullify some of the things I was able to do in the ring. And in a lot of ways, I really had my way for a majority of that fight, or a lot of that fight. And then there's Terence Crawford. He's one of the best athletic, and we use the word cerebral, one of the most athletic and cerebral fighters I've ever been in the ring with. So those three guys are kind of the cream of the crop there.
If I had to push you for one, who would it be out of those three?
I take Errol out first because, again, I don't think Errol was everything that he is now. I think he's better now than he was before he fought me. Take him out. I mean, it's between Keith and it's between Terence, and I think you go with Terence. I think Terence just a little bit stronger mentally, maybe. That's a tough one. Keith Thurman in his prime, or Terence Crawford now, who is, clearly in his prime. It's hard to call.
Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. I mean, it feels like we've been waiting for that fight for years. Well, we have been waiting for that fight for years and years. Obviously, you know both men as well as you can know somebody from your fights with them. What do you make of that whole situation between them?
Yeah, Tommy, go back to the fact that I fought Errol Spence Jr. in 2019. He's had time to mature. He's had time to grow up. He's had time to learn more things about himself, and the list goes on. He's just a better fighter now than he was before he fought me. Everybody looks at the accident, and of course you should, and say, well, how can he be better? He's been through such a tragic thing and made it through. Well, he's better because of those things. Those things forced him to mature and grow up, blah, 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 So we always talk about a fighter being ready for that big moment, What gets that fighter ready for that big moment? Experiences in the ring and out of the ring. I think the experience that Errol had in the ring against me made him better. And then, of course, the experiences that he's had out of the ring has made him better as well. So that being said, I think we got both guys literally in their primes. And both guys who aren't willing to stop, it's 50-50 if I've ever seen 50-50. And I'm someone who really just started watching boxing over the last 4 to 5 years. I never really watched boxing as much as I've watched now, especially in the last 2 years we're doing a podcast. Before the podcast, I was watching boxing that I knew I had to watch in order to be ready to do a TV show. I was watching boxing that I knew I had to be ready to, watch in order to be ready for a live night, So as long as I've been watching boxing, this is probably one of the best fights I'll ever witness. Yeah. Hard to say, man. It's really hard to say. It's hard to say. Boxing is about moments, and if you watch the podcast, you hear me say it all the time. It's about seizing the moment. I know all that sounds very generic, and all that sounds like a cop-out, like I don't want to answer the question, all that. We don't know. And that's why I don't really like to predict boxing, because boxing is very unpredictable, especially in the weight class where that one punch changes everything. You don't get that so much in the lightweights, That's all you get in the heavyweight division, You get a guy who is winning every round, and then you get a Deontay Wilder, one punch and it's over. You know what I mean? So with the welterweight division, it's like you get one guy who's winning every round, he's going to win the fight. And you get one guy who's winning every round, and then he gets caught with one shot and it's over, So it's very unpredictable, I think, this fight, and I think we should all be patient.
Your last fight, of course, was against Terence Crawford, the first and only time that you were stopped in your career.
Yeah.
Reflecting on that fight and the build-up to that fight, how do you look back at that fight? What did that fight? What happened there?
I don't know, man. I don't really look back to that fight so much, and honestly, I think that the retirement caught everyone by surprise. No one really expected that. I'm only at that point in time, I was 34. Yeah, I was 34 at that time, and you know, kind of the list goes on. No one really expected it, but from where I was sitting after that fight, it was, yo, you've done everything you said you wanted to do, everything you said you were gonna do. Move on, and you know, it's really not about enjoying life. It's about doing the things that I've always wanted to do. Again, I always say there's no disrespect to boxing, but you make sacrifices. And in order to get where I got in boxing, you got to sacrifice it all, you know? So, yeah, I've had dreams and aspirations of being an actor since I was a teenager. I'm not just someone who says, oh, I'm going to act someday. Like, I literally position myself to be in Hollywood, to meet certain people, to tell me how to start getting ready to acclimate and become an actor. Like, this isn't just, I want to do something that makes me the same amount of money that I made boxing. Like, I have a true passion to act. I put that passion on hold for boxing, you know? I have a life coaching certification. I'm able to help people. I'm able to go and do motivational speaking and all of those things. I'm qualified because I fought and I've lived it and I've done, but I'm also qualified because I've gone through certifications and classes and things of that nature. I put off helping people, sacrificing that to fight, you know? So I'm done with sacrificing those things, and I'm getting into all of it now.